What if you were preventing your own happiness? Wouldn't you like to know how, and also how to rectify that? Well, keep watching and you'll find out. See if you can relate to this. You start a new job and you're so happy and euphoric about it. You're excited because you've passed the interview and you've been accepted, and you get into that new job, and for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months you're so happy, and all of a sudden it tails off. All of a sudden you start feeling like you did in your old job. And why is that? Have you been there? Have you felt like that? I know I have several times. And why is that? Why do we get to a level of happiness and can't go beyond that? Why is it that we don't reach the happiness that we really, really want? Well, there are 3 fundamental reasons why we don't get the happiness that we want, and how we actually prevent our happiness. That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Now, the first one, that comes from experiences when you're very young, from birth until about the ages of 6 and 7. Sometimes it could even be while you're still in the womb, because it's all to do with your conditioning, if you like, your programming for when you were going through those what's known as formative years. It comes from your parents, how they react and how they speak to each other, how they speak to you, how they react with you. It comes from your grandparents, your ancestors even. It comes from your environment, your peers, your personal experiences. These all form the habits, the beliefs, the thoughts that you have at that time, and which are embedded into your subconscious mind. Like programming a hard drive or an operating system, if you like. And they stay with you throughout your life. Now, some of them, the majority of them, are good, because, don't cross the road when traffic's coming, don't touch anything that's hot, that kind of thing, they're useful. But there are other beliefs and form habits which aren't so good, perhaps. And these are things like, for example, what Randy Gage calls mind viruses. Views about money, views about the rich, how they're bad people and all that, or how having no money is more spiritual than having lots of money, all kinds of things like that. Or another example would be how we view other people, other races, other cultures. That could all come from our environment, our experiences, and those around us. And these can form opinions, beliefs and faiths and so on that we carry with us throughout our lives. But that doesn't mean to say that they're so embedded that you can't get rid of them, because you can. And that's the difficult part, though, because they are so embedded, it takes time to dig them out, and you have to work on them one at a time, really. And that takes a lot of time and effort, because you have to replace them with more positive thinking, and you have to really smash them out of the way and just get rid of them completely. Reprogram your subconscious mind. And you can do that, and this channel's about that as well, because the stuff I'll be putting up on here will help you with that. There's meditations you can do, there's letting go exercises, there's other exercises that you can do, which I'll be covering throughout this channel. I've already got a few videos up which will help with that. And you can replace those negative thoughts, if you like, or unwanted embedded beliefs and habits, and replace them with new ones, the ones that you do want, so you can start to achieve the happiness that you want. Now, I went decades wondering why I wasn't getting the happiness level that I wanted, why I wasn't going forward. Because this also goes with goal setting as well. When you get to a certain level and then you get pushed back, and you just don't know why. And it took me decades to figure it out. And it wasn't until 2014, so not that long ago, 2014, when I was listening to some Bob Proctor material, that I realised what the answer was. And obviously it was my mindset, it was me, I was the issue. My thoughts, my actions, my old beliefs, stuff that I accepted as a young child, because when you're like 6, 7, 4, 5, whatever, you accept anything you're told as truth. If you're told as truth, you will accept it as truth without question. And that stays with you throughout your life. And it takes a while before you can chip that away. So all those old beliefs I had when I was younger about money, as an example, because from the environment I grew up in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I blamed money for all the troubles. Well, in fact, what it was were unscrupulous people using money as a tool to foment all that violence. But it took me years and years and years to figure that one out, decades. And I used to even say that I loathed money with a passion. So then it was no wonder I didn't have any. Now since 2014, I've been working on going the opposite direction. I won't say I'm there yet because I still haven't got loads and loads of money. However, I have a much better view about money. And that's what counts. When you start chipping away, you start making progress, and you build on that progress. That makes a foundation, and you build on that foundation, and you start moving forward. So that's the first way that we prevent ourselves from being happy, by our conditioning that we received and programming that we received when we were younger. The second way is what the scientists are terming the Velcro Teflon effect. So what's that? Well, we have somewhere in the region between 80 to 100,000 thoughts each and every day. So now we're going from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. Although it's still subconscious mind related, but it's more to do with the conscious mind. 100,000 thoughts, 80 to 100,000 thoughts going in and out of our minds each and every day. Now here's the staggering fact about that. Over 80% of them are negative. Negative. Over 80% of those 100,000 thoughts are negative. And here's the other part that's even more astounding. That negative thought thinking is a default setting. How can you win if your default setting is to be negative? And that stems from, the scientists are saying, that stems from the times when we've run around and living in caves or whatever, when we were living in times where things weren't so technical as today, prehistoric times, when we had to defend ourselves against wild beasts and other dangers from other tribes and such like things, and we developed a negative mindset which protected us at that time. However, we're now in the 21st century. We don't need that kind of mindset anymore, yet we still use it. And you can tell that from the way we talk, for example. Just listen to how you talk. How many negatives or negative thinking is there in your speech? For example, a sports person wins a race, and it said, well, how, they're asked, how do you feel about it? It says, well, I didn't expect to win. Excuse me? Then why did you enter the race if you didn't expect to win? See, it doesn't make sense, does it? Or someone will say, oh, I've entered for the lottery. It's going to be 21 million tonight, but I won't win it anyway, so I never do. So why bother entering in the first place if you're going to think like that? That's how negative we are. We take a good thing, a positive thing, and we put a negative twist on it. Here's another example. I'll ask you how you are, and you say, oh, I'm not too bad. Too bad? That's only one up from being bad. So how bad are you then? Or put it the other way round. How are you feeling? Oh, I'm not too good. Huh? What's that about? Not too good when you're supposed to be feeling sick? Surely it should be the other way around, but no. That's what the scientists are calling the Teflon effect, because those thoughts, those memes, if you like, stick. They're like trying to rip Teflon apart. Almost impossible. Again, you have to chip away at them bit by bit until you rip them apart and replace them with something else. And the 20%, those positive thoughts, the 20%, they just fly by. This is what they call the Teflon effect. It's like having fried eggs in a Teflon pan. They just slip out. They don't stay. So unless you grab hold of them, mentally obviously, but grab hold of them and force them to stay in your mind, they don't stay, they just slip past. So that's the Teflon effect, the Velcro Teflon effect. And through this channel as well, you'll receive insights and tips on how to keep those positive thoughts in mind, whether it's through meditations again or other ways. There's different tools that you can use to keep those positive thoughts in mind. But affirmations is a good way, but I'll teach you how to do proper affirmations. The third and final way is, I'll give you an example. Scientists studied lottery winners. We're going back to the lottery again, but scientists studied lottery winners, and they discovered that after the initial joy, initial euphoria of winning the lottery, doesn't matter how much it was, whether it's a few 100,000, whether it's a few million, whatever it happened to be, after a while they reverted back to feeling how they did before they won the lottery. Remember what I said at the start about the job? First you're feeling excited and euphoric about the job, and then after a while it kind of plateaus out, it kind of levels down, and you start feeling how you were before you started a new job. That was the same for lottery winners, and the scientists figured, we'll try to figure it out. Well, what was it? Well, what was the problem? They've come up with what they call the happiness set point. So what's that? Well, throughout our growing up, our levels of happiness rise until they get to maybe to a certain age, maybe adulthood or a bit beyond, and it tends to plateau out. Okay? And no matter how far above this point that we go, eventually we come back down until we reach that point again. Same if we slip down below that, something will happen to raise our spirits so we come back up to that point and we don't move from that point. That's mainly in adulthood. When you're a child, obviously, because you're full of expectations, you're moving that set point up. This is the happiness set point. You're moving it up until you reach that level. And then obviously this set point is different for each person, it's individual. Once it's there, it tends to stay there for the rest of our lives unless we consciously push it up, and push it up, and push it up. And that's the only way of getting around that, is by replacing it with something to push it up, to focus on something higher, a higher level of happiness in each time, and maintain that, because if we don't maintain it, then it'll start dripping back down and go back to its original point. It's a bit like a thermostat. It's maybe set, say 23 degrees Celsius, and when it reaches 23 degrees, it stops there. Okay, but if it starts overheating and goes above that, the heater or whatever is causing the heat will switch off and it will cool down. Or if it's below, the heaters will kick in and it will raise up, until it reaches that 23 degrees. And that's what they call the happiness set point. Again, through this channel, I'll be sharing content, not only my own content from my own training and so on, but from others as well, which will help raise your happiness set point. So there we have the three fundamental areas where we prevent ourselves from reaching the level of happiness that we truly, truly want. The childhood conditioning, the Velcro Teflon effect, and the happiness set point. So I hope you found those useful, and have a look around on this channel for the videos I've already done, because I've covered different areas to do with the mind, body, spirit and universe, which will help you achieve the different levels of happiness. And I'll be adding more videos obviously coming up in the future as well. So thank you for watching, and until we speak to each other again, be and stay blessed. Thank you.